first night, I slept on the banks of a small creek, out in the elements the first night. The stars were the stars, and they shone like the stars should, and I slept beneath them, surrounded by the sound of the creek. The trees, though, the trees, they stretched like waking cats, their leaves feline. In my dreams, the creek, it became a great river, swollen with memory and cut with rocks, and men standing on those rocks, casting out huge lines and drawing in beautiful women covered in diamonds with jade for hair and ivory for teeth. They were wearing gold and glass scales. The men, they married these women and loved them. They raised children with these women who learned to be proud of the lives they had made for them and learned to make lives for themselves their perfect parents could never have imagined or condoned. The daughters of these great women were good women, and the sons were bastards. They smoked cigarettes at night. They defiled their bodies, and by the time they died too young, there was nothing left of them but their vices. The women, with their mother-of-pearl skin and obsidian eyes and dragonfly fingernails, they outlived the men they had married and laughed at their headstones and cried tears of hot wax. They wrote poems about birds and about flowers and about heartache and about all the things they felt, and they bound those words to their backs and made them into wings, and they flew. They cut the air above the river, riding its currents all the way to the ocean, where they began flying higher. They settled on the shores and broke their wings there and made them into bonfires and knew themselves to be goddesses. They lived long and drank heavy. Some of them, they fashioned their gold and glass scales into jewelry, and they sold it. They sold it for less than it was worth. They dragged new men, one after the other, out of the gulfs and the bays and the deep pools where those men once lay, and they married them. They loved them. They raised children with these men who learned to be proud of the lives they had made for them and learned to make lives for themselves their perfect parents could never have imagined or condoned. The fish women had become fisher women, and they got good at it. The children, they died too young too. And the mothers, they outlived those men too, and they laughed at their headstones like smoke. It was then that they realized they were a fire that consumes all before it. They decided they were done with this life and grew themselves new wings and settled on the clouds. The few that still had gold and glass scales, they ground them into lenses and set them looking downwards. They stared at what they had created and cried tears of hot wax and fine ash, and the water, it clung to these tears as it fell. The ocean gladly accepted this blessing and let it wash up onto the shore. The women kept flying, though, circling the earth and screaming like sirens, shining like beacons, shimmering like stars. The men, who had lay in the ground for so long, they rolled in their graves, shredding their already thin skin until they were nothing but raw flesh glistening in the coffin dark. They rolled in their graves and kept rolling.